This time on Still Mormon.
And we were talking and getting to know each other. And then he just starts talking about Joseph Smith and how he's not a polygamist. And I thought, okay, I just thought, there it is.
Right out the
There's
gate.
the weird thing, right?
You were waiting.
I actually broke up with him a few times over it.
Did you want Joseph Smith to be a polygamist?
No, I didn't. I just was like, well, he just was.
He just was.
He just was.
Obvious.
And this is very strange that you're in denial of this.
Right.
And then to top it off, he's like, yeah, and someday I want to do a podcast on this. And I was like, I cannot bring this into my family. For me, it was a real gift because I revere our founding prophet and I revere his wife and the relationship, the marriage they had. They were fiercely devoted to each other and to each other only. And they were fiercely in love. They had a very sweet, special marriage.
You no choice but fight or die.
This is Still Mormon. The show dedicated to unsettling Mormon history.
Welcome back to Still Mormon. I'm Jeremy, your host. And my goodness, after last week, I'm kind of dumbfounded. I'm so grateful. I'm just grateful to this audience for your reaction, for your support, your comments, and I'm so grateful to be a part of this time in history when these things are happening. And what a privilege and honor it is to be part of of disseminating the Clayton Journals, and hopefully you're enjoying them. Maybe you're not enjoying them. Maybe you're finding them kind of boring. I have no idea. Like I said last time, there's nothing really in there, nothing new, except for what we're going to teach you about them. Remember that. We're going to teach you all through the course of this episode in the Clayton Conundrum, the book that's coming out. We're going to teach you a lot about the Clayton Journals and why it's so important to understand their origin, nature, and purpose. But today we got something new for you. And I'm really excited to share this with you. It's new. It's a conversation with my wife. And the things we talk about, it was astonishing for me to be a part of that conversation and to watch it back. And I'm just really thrilled to be able to share it with you. Have you get to know her a little bit and her experience and what it's like being married to me and what this whole polygamy thing has been for her, a devout, active Latter-day Saint, and how this has changed her perspective and what it's done for us in our marriage. But first, I wanted to show you something that was done by my wife's daughter, Maya Gardner. Maya, graciously, I asked her, she's an incredible art student. And because I knew that she had just out of this world talent, I asked her to conceptualize a young William Clayton for me for the cover of my book, Mike and my book. And this is what she did. I think this is absolutely breathtaking. The level of detail, it's a pencil drawing. The level of detail in this is out of this world. The hair, the texture of the fabric, the wrinkles in the skin, his eyes. This is young William Clayton. And I can't wait to get this on the cover of the book and to hang it in the studio. So thank you, Maya, for your insane gift of talent and for what you did for me. And I was so grateful to commission you to do that. And by the way, if anybody's looking for a really great artist for personal portraits or for conceptual art or whatever, and you want to hire somebody like Maya, a young, talented artist, I'll put links to her information and just a couple things. She's an art education student. She's expected to graduate in the spring of 2027 from the U. She's extremely, she says, passionate about the visual arts. She specializes in portraiture and expressive, character-focused work. So if you'd like to hire Maya, look at the links below, or you can email me directly at askme@stillmormon.com, and I will pass on your request to her. Okay, so without further ado, I want to introduce you to my dear wife. We're going to do this a little bit unique. I'm going to have my dear friend Adam Boyle interview us and let the conversation ensue. Today, I'm going to have a conversation for the first time on the show. Instead of just talking at you, to you, about documents and throwing a bunch of sources that you have to go look up and figure out if I'm making sense, I wanted to have a conversation with two very important people to me. for a very specific purpose, because we're going to take the podcast in some new directions, as I mentioned previously. Today, I have with me my wife. I have my wife, Deborah. Say hi.
Hello.
And I have my dear friend, Adam Boyle. And Adam is here for also a very specific reason. And there's a method to the madness of this particular show, because something that has been weighing on my heart as I have studied the subject of polygamy over the years, and as I've talked to so many people, since I started the podcast, I get message after message after message after email, people stopping me. I get stopped in Costco, and I get stopped at, at the movie theater or whatever, and people are seeing the show, and people have lots of questions. And this has such a real impact, such a profound impact on people's daily lives. And so I want to start to explore that here on the show, how it's impacting people. We're going to have conversations with various people in various walks of life. I want to talk to men, groups of men, and I want to get honest about what this looks like for men, especially for those who've given it up, what it was like for them beforehand, and now what it's like to be free of it. I want to talk to women and get women's perspectives on what it's like to have a friend of mine, Stephen Pinecker of Mormon Book Review. Stephen, hi, if you're watching this. He did an interview with a group of women, and he used the image of the sword of Damocles hanging over women's heads, having this specter of this idea as something that women in the LDS Church constantly have to deal with. And Carolyn Pearson wrote a great book on that subject, The Ghost of Eternal Polygamy. And I think we can learn a lot by hearing how this still affects people. Actually, still is the wrong word. How it's never stopped affecting people. It's a part of our DNA. It's a part of our culture. And I want to talk to fundamentalists. I've got some friends in the fundamentalist communities, and I think what they have to teach us is really, really important about how these things are, how they are affecting very real lives in a very real way. I mean, we have the high profile shows like Keep Sweet and Trust Me that's just come on, and so we can see those things play out in documentary form. But I would like to talk to these people as well, because these are very real people living very real lives, and I want to know from their perspective and what it's been like to come out of it, for example. And for today's show, we're going to kick off talking about marriage and what the dynamic of polygamy is like within a marriage or a relationship between a man and a woman, what it means to a marriage when you can give it up or when it's no longer a part of your marriage, and how that can impact a marriage. I'm very curious to hear the stories of real world couples and how this subject has made a difference for them. And so we're going to in fact, I've brought my wife here because she has lots of expertise in marriage, and she's going to talk a little bit about her specialty. She's a marriage and sexuality coach, and she's going to tell us a little bit about that. And she's going to help me interview couples, and we're going to have conversations about what it means to no longer have this sort of Damocles hanging over our heads, and how that has impacted us. And frankly, if you're dealing with it, how it can impact you. Also, just as a little pitch for anyone interested, if you are in a mixed belief marriage, we're going to address this because we were in a mixed belief marriage. And so we have a perspective on that. If you're in a mixed belief marriage and you would be willing to talk on camera, we would love to hear from you.
And so want to invite anyone out there who might want to share their perspective to email us at our new email, which is askme@stillmormon.com, askme@stillmormon.com, and let us know that you would be interested. We'll have a conversation. We'll talk to you beforehand. We'll make it a safe environment. By the way, if you're part of the pair, the couple that doesn't share this perspective, and you're willing to come on, the idea would not be to convince you to change your mind. That might sound like a tall order, but that's an honest offer to you. It's not to change your mind. The only agenda, if you will, would be to have a real conversation about the impact, but also perhaps to share with you as a couple, from our perspective, how we learn to navigate the difference in belief. Now, we share the belief now, but we didn't for quite a while. And I think our perspective can be very instructive and helpful to you. And also for the spouse that doesn't believe these things, we can give you a perspective as to why we believe these things. And for the one who does believe these things, we can help you understand perhaps some things not to do that make it worse. So if anyone watching is at all interested in having that conversation, please email me at askme@stillmormon.com and we will talk. Okay. With that said, by the way, thank you for all of you who are supporting the show. We can't do this without you. Just check the links below and you'll find the ways that you can support the show. Sharing this on Facebook or on Instagram, sharing this far and wide, that makes a big difference. So thank you for those people, those of you who do. And thank you for everyone who's already subscribed. Okay. With that preamble, this is my dear wife and this is my good friend, Adam. So Adam, I wanted to ask you, why in the world are you here? Why do I have you on? Because I met Adam back last year.
Last July, I think.
Last July.
Well, that's when we first had our big, long interaction, isn't it?
That's right. I had just done the presentation on the Revelation. If you're new to the show and you haven't watched, please go back and watch that. If you haven't seen it, you're going to want to watch that episode because it covers what our perspective on the show is about D&C 132, the celestial plural marriage revelation. But I did that presentation and then Adam asked me on his show and we had, it was one of the best experiences I've ever had being interviewed. I thought it was a fantastic conversation. So Adam, can you tell us why this has become part of your life?
I guess as we talked about last summer, my great-great-great-grandfather is Joseph C. Kingsbury, who is an integral and very important part of the D&C 132 narrative or the timeline. I mean, it's in his writing.
So his great-great-great
yes.
grandpa, the presentation we did on the Revelation, it's his great-great-great-grandfather that wrote that thing. Okay, go ahead.
It's in his handwriting.
Yes. Or sorry, wasn't the author.
He wasn't the author.
He was a scribe.
Okay. He was a scribe. And we learned that was very, very likely done in 1852 or possibly even later, but at least 1852, where the narrative is that he wrote it down in July of 1843.
And let's pause there for just a minute. If you're just coming to this show for the first time and you just hear that and you have some familiarity with the subject and you think, what in the world are they talking about? That's July 12th, 1843. They're completely out of their minds. It's because of what we discussed in the episode. So I would recommend if you're brand new to the show, please go back and watch that episode. Then what Adam just said will make a lot more sense.
Please the first time the public ever heard D&C 132 was August 28th, 1852.
Correct.
And the story was that it had been in the possession of somebody else, Newell K. Whitney, et cetera, since 1843. And this was a source of pride for my family. There's a We have a.
So you would tell stories through the generations?
I would.
Or they did?
My grandfather, when the biography of Joseph C. Kingsbury came about, he bought the hardback and he gave it out to his children and wrote in his handwriting. And this is a grandfather. I just loved him to death. But it's like, hey, you can be proud that we are part of a very important part of church history. Wow. So that's in my copy of that biography.
Okay, so you grew up with this?
I grew up with it. Yeah, polygamy's kind of haunted our family. You know, it's back there. And so, and it wasn't until just over 4 years ago, I watched an interview with Whitney Horning, and I saw her talk about her book, Joseph Smith Revealed. Mm-hmm. I bought a copy of it. I read it, and it was, for me, it was just this explosion of light, because I started to understand that Joseph and Emma had been fighting against polygamy as a couple. I mean, as a couple, they were doing this, and that's documented in church history. You do go over that.
We're just about to get there. By the way, as I have reminded you previously, we haven't even got to the meat of where all the action is from 1841 to 44. But what he's referring to is a long and arduous fight by the two of them and his brother Hiram to oppose it.
Yeah, and so if you read in the First Saints book, it basically says that they didn't really say their opinion on it, but it's
not true at all.
Not true at all. It's the opposite. It's documented everywhere. There's a Times and Seasons has D&C. It repeats D&C 101 from the 1835
That's right.
Doctrine and Covenants. So reading about Joseph and Emma and realizing that they were different people than I had realized, and having to apologize for the bad parts of polygamy in my family history. And there's a lot of it. And there's a lot of polygamy in my family history, like yours. For that could be really hard for people. And it's hard. But for me, there was this spirit that came with that book. It was just an explosion of light for me. And it was a very important part of my waking up to who God is and what he wants for couples. And just is something different when you understand that when God says he created man and woman in his image.
In his image. The image of God is what? Is male and female created he them. The image of God is male and female united in an eternal coupling, not male and 40 or male and 100, or as Heber Kimball would say, thousands.
And for me, I mean, this is 180 years after polygamy came to be in the church that I learn about this. And something about learning about that changed how I saw my wife. It really did, because I don't know, it's not even a thing in the LDS church anymore, but it still was in the background. And it still meant that that thinking that there was potentially more than just her meant I didn't give my heart wholly to her, even though I thought I did. But I think this has been your experience as well, and a lot of people's experience. But this is such an important thing to me, to other people who wake up to it and realize that God is faithful to his own wife, that God created us so that we can be one. The twain, the two of us can be one. And that's a big part of our journey here is trying to figure that out. That's not an easy thing. It's not easy to be one, right? With your spouse.
And when you have an added layer, a very profound and dense layer of doctrine, an idea that corrupts a mind, that tells a man, oh, it's okay if my wife doesn't have this quality or that quality, or she's got 5 qualities that I love and of the 100 that I want, because the 95 that I don't have will be supplied in the afterlife by the 50 other women that I'm with, or whatever it might be.
I asked you about that the other day. I said, back when you believed in this, I asked you, did you think, oh, well, if I'm going to have multiple other wives in the next life, do you ever think about like what hair color you prefer or body type?
I don't know if that was an active thought, but that will come across a man's mind at some point, at some time. And if you don't think that that's the case and you're sitting there and you're hiding that from yourself, I think you're not being honest with yourself, because that's part of the nature of it. Now, granted, there are those who really, they don't think about the subject, and it's not part of their they just put it on a shelf and it's not there. But if you understand the doctrine, which I did, if you've read D&C 132 and studied it, which I did, I remember the first time I really read it was on my mission. And I thought, what is this that we have here, right? Then you have to contemplate, why is God talking to Emma this way? What's this thing about 10 virgins?
Concubines.
Why does it talk about concubines, for Pete's sake? What's a concubine, right? If you take the gospel at all seriously, you have to take that seriously. And by the way, it doesn't mean that you're this awful human being as a man because these things enter your mind, because very good men wrestle with these things all the time. And it's just a natural consequence of having this doctrine as a part of the theology. And so we're going to be faced with it. And it keeps men and women as well, and you can speak to this, from ever being fully one. And so Adam is here to share his perspective, but also because he's going to turn the tables a little bit and he's going to interview us so that you can hear a little bit from me about things I haven't told you yet. And so you can hear some of the perspective of my wife and what has brought us here. And one of the reasons why I do this is because of her. It's because of the support that she's given me and the encouragement that she's given me. And frankly, sweetie, I couldn't do it without you. So I wanted you to hear a bit from her and to hear about where she's come from and what she does and why she's going to be a somewhat regular part of the show from time to time as we talk to couples.
Jeremy, you and I talk all the time, and a lot of people know you really well, but I don't know that they know Deborah very well. Deborah, I think we've talked a couple times over the last couple of years. I don't know you as well as I'd like to, and I think everybody would love to know your story and the story of both of you. But maybe we can just, where did you grow up? What's your background? Have you always been a member of the LDS Church? What's your family story? Do you have polygamy in your background?
So I'm from California, from Sacramento, and I grew up there for my whole childhood. And both of my parents are converts. My mother grew up Methodist, and my father grew up his mother was Albanian Orthodox. My father's Albanian, and his father was atheist. And my father, being a scientist and a physician, he leaned towards atheism. And so no background of polygamy. They're the Albanians, and they didn't practice that. and my mother, like I said, grew up Methodist, and she doesn't have a history of it's us. It's our family. Like, we're
brand new.
Your first generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they joined the church, and our family is very Orthodox LDS, and
wonderful people. Some of the most salt of the earth Mormons, they epitomize that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really look up to my parents, and my siblings and I are very, very close. They're all very Orthodox LDS too. And, we're the family that, so with my parents being converts, what my dad did was for every conference session, he just took notes like mad, everything the bishop said, everything the prophet said, everything an apostle said. Like, he has the books, he has all their books, everything the family community manual said. He took all these notes, and then he implemented them with us. So we had like the priesthood interviews on Sundays. We had, then we were to journal. We did our genealogy. We, temple work. Like it was like we were just saturated with the gospel, and I'm really grateful for that. I was blessed to have a very amazing upbringing, and but I didn't have any kind of I grew up knowing that Joseph was a polygamist, okay, back then. And so I was always surprised when someone in their adult years was like, I can't believe he was a polygamist. They've been on a mission and like the church has lied to me. And like, I've always known that. I've just always known that. And so it was never a shocker to me. It was something that I just grew up with it and had accepted it. Didn't think too much about it. So, yeah.
So were your parents, did they join the church before you were born?
Yes, they joined the church when my mom was pregnant with their third child.
And what, the missionaries just...
Or no, I'm sorry, that's when they were sealed, but they were married. They were sealed in the temple and joined, or they joined the church before, my dad joined the church before they got married. My mom joined.
The missionaries just knocked on his door?
No, they were at the World's Fair in Canada and decided to go in to it was a tent that was set up, and they were very intrigued by the whole idea that families could be forever and the whole plan of happiness. And it really resonated with my father, and it made him very excited, but it was also a little confusing because he was atheist. And he has a very beautiful story about coming to know Jesus Christ and how he came to believe that there is a God. It's an incredible story.
But that was all because of the missionaries.
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And the missionary who baptized him is still in our lives and has seen the fruit of this man who he has baptized, and like all the kids and the grandkids and just lots of missions in our family, which is a big deal because, my parents they're the ones who joined the church and started it for our family.
So do you feel like you got a testimony when you were a little kid on your mission?
Of like the church, the gospel, two in one?
Everything, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say I would say that my earliest memory of having a testimony of something was of Jesus Christ in the third grade. My dad he taught all of us to read the Book of Mormon every single day. And so starting in the third grade, I did that. And I did that through my mission every single day since the third grade. Yeah. And so I was the only one in my seminary class at age 14 that had read through the whole Book of Mormon. And I have a deep love for the Book of Mormon. But I always just felt it deep down that what I was learning was true. And, but especially I started developing that relationship with Jesus Christ, I would say at that young age, actually. Like I just was very enamored by his kindness towards the people who mistreated him, really, and just felt a deep love for this man who is our Savior.
Yeah, and it's hard to get that unless you're in the scriptures.
Yeah.
It's hard to really understand who he is unless you read his words, you know him. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Starting at third grade, it's very rare.
Well, she has her father is an amazing man.
Everything's about Jesus. Everything's like, did you pray about that? If you're worried about anything, well, did you pray about that? Like we were taught to go to God for everything. So that's our default. You go to Heavenly Father, you ask him your questions, you go to the temple, you turn to the scriptures, you dig in deep and hard, and you get your answers from the source.
That's incredible. And may I say, that's a little atypical. So what made you want to go on a mission?
Really, I felt like it was such a privilege to be raised in the gospel, to know who Jesus Christ is, I thought, well, I can't keep this to myself. I need to share about him. Like, people need to know what he's done for them. So I wanted to really to try to make some kind of sacrifice to repay him.
Right.
On some minuscule level.
It's a little more rare for people to go.
Yeah.
We're the same age. And so back in the early 90s, it was not as common for a young woman to serve as it is today, right?
Right. I never thought I'd go on a mission. I thought, like, oh, that's for the girls who can't get married. That's what I thought. And then I'd had a boyfriend, and we broke up, and I just, the Spirit just started really working on me, and I started really thinking about, wait a minute, what am I doing in my life? What really matters to me? And so I served my mission in Bulgaria, and that was a very new mission. So that was in 93. The mission opened up in 90, but there were hardly any missionaries that had served there by that time. And communism had just fallen in 1990. And so it was a very unique mission. It was dangerous. It was declared the most dangerous mission in the world.
Bulgaria.
At the time.
Really?
It was intense. It was hard. It was really hard.
Is that next to Albania?
It's pretty close.
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's like right there in the Eastern Bloc.
Where your
country.
dad's from?
Yeah.
Different language,
where he was
right?
conceived.
Where he was conceived.
And then
okay.
he made it into America and was born
Okay, got
in
it.
Boston.
But there's almost a family. I mean, at least that part of Europe, that's
Oh yeah.
kind of where your family's from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my brother went on a mission to Albania. So he was in Albania, I was in Bulgaria, and we'd swap stories because the countries are very similar. And it was quite an experience. And yeah, I love those people. And my mission was a huge, huge part of my life.
So I know that you have a charity that works in, I think, Bulgaria and Albania. Is that right?
Yes.
Tell us about that a little bit. Why would you start a charity halfway around the world, and what's that all about? Was it your mission that?
Yes, I had an experience while on my mission. I visited an orphanage just one time. We were, the Bulgarians were at that time very afraid of us. There was this rumor that went around that we actually sacrificed children. And so we,
Who?
it was
like Mormons?
The Mormonite, that we sacrificed children. It was like a rough time.
Yeah. Wow.
It was very rough. And, with communism falling, they didn't want people coming into their country. I mean, their religion had been torn down, and they didn't really care for Americans coming in, understandably so, and teaching about their religion, right? Like, they wanted their Orthodox Bulgarian, they wanted to observe their Orthodox Bulgarian religion. And so anyway, I did get to go into an orphanage just one time. And that was an experience that just stuck with me. It was, with having brown hair and brown eyes like the Bulgarians, when I entered into the orphanage, all these little kids came running up to me and they said, Maiko, which means mama. They thought that maybe I was their mama, because sometimes their mothers actually will come back, but it's very rare. And so, with most of them having dark hair and brown eyes, I think they just probably thought maybe that's mama. And so I just kind of squatted down and scooped them up. They were ages between 3 and 5 years old. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I got to come back here one day and help these children. And so years later, 8 years after my mission, and I had my third baby, a former mission companion of mine called me, and she had been helping in the orphanages, and she said, I need your help with this. I want to work over there. Do you want to join me with this? And so she had already been helping in one orphanage, and so I started helping in another one, and we decided to turn it into an official organization. And that was 23 years ago. Wow. And we've helped in over 48 orphanages. And then we've expanded into my father's country in Albania, and we're helping in 8 orphanages there. And we hope to expand into Armenia and throughout Eastern Europe, where there's a very high concentration of orphanages.
And why
So-
is it that? I mean, we adopted our youngest from an orphanage in China for obvious reasons. That was when she was 10 months old. Why are there concentrations of orphans in Bulgaria, Albania, Armenia?
Well, it has a lot to do with poverty and these mothers feeling like there's no way they can raise this child. And this has become part of their child welfare system. They haven't had foster care systems in place. And so it's drop your child off in an orphanage, especially if the child has disabilities. Then oftentimes the doctors tell the mothers, just leave it at an orphanage.
So you anonymously drop your...
Either way. Just
Either way.
bring your child in or leave it at the hospital if it has disabilities. And that's not because the mother is cruel. She sincerely does not know how to provide for her child. And she's been told that child will get much better care in an orphanage, which is inaccurate. It's not true. But she believes that, and that's what she's been told. And the doctors tell them that too. And they've actually never set foot inside an orphanage, but they're telling them to give up their children. So yeah, it's a mess, but we do something about it.
What do you do?
So we help on a variety of levels. One of our most impactful programs is our Baba program. Baba means grandma. What we do is we hire local Bulgarian grandmothers to come in and be the orphanage grandma. And so those kids have this like surrogate grandmother who her only job is to love the children, look them in the eye, touch them, hug them, take care of them like a grandma would. And so that's been an incredible program. I think that's one of our most impactful programs. We also help the children with special needs. A lot of them just are confined in cribs. You've got children who are 14 years old who've never stepped outside of a crib because no one helped that child get out of their crib. And like a lot of them have cerebral palsy, neurotube defects, and these orphanages are understaffed. And so, they've been very behind in their medical knowledge, and they think that there's nothing that can be done for this child. So we get some of those children up and walking,
wow,
which makes them more eligible for adoption or to go into foster care. They now have foster care, and we've been helpful to their foster care system as well. And then we're trying to replicate all of that little by little in Albania. And we want to go throughout Eastern Europe and help these kids.
And you've been doing this for over 20 years?
23 years.
23 years.
Yeah.
Great.
So
that's awesome. And it's awesome that it's expanding.
And it's awesome that you've been a great support to our organization. So we thank you for that in Sydney.
Yeah, no, it sometimes feels like here in the United States that that there's not that much need. And I've been over to Cambodia and Malaysia and some different places, and China, of course, different places, and it's a totally different story.
Oh yeah.
And with just a little bit of money, you can make a huge impact.
Yes, you can.
In fact, let me say, if anyone watching, of the tens of thousands of people watching, they want to help, if you would like to give in a way that will directly impact the lives of orphans, of people, and sometimes single mothers, because you have she has to tell you about the Mother Teresa's old orphanage and what you did there.
Oh yeah.
If you would like to help, and you want to see your money go to a place where it makes a huge difference, how can they help?
Yeah, I'm in charge of those funds, of every dime. So I'm very careful with our funds in Albania.
Where can they go to help?
So
I want to make sure.
Our foundation is One Heart Children's Foundation. Formerly, we were called One Heart Bulgaria. In Bulgaria, we are called One Heart Bulgaria. And in Albania, we're called One Heart Albania. But the parent foundation is One Heart Children's Foundation.
So please go to oneheartchildrensfoundation.org.
Mm-hmm.
If you'd like to donate, please go there and you can learn more.
And we can leave
you.
a link in the description.
In the description, absolutely.
And I will add, because this is of huge importance, we are now trying to tackle child marriage in Eastern Europe.
That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? What does that mean?
Millions of children.
At what age?
The youngest that I know about is 9 years old, and she had a baby at 10 years old. So this is a huge problem that nobody wants to talk about.
How do you tackle that?
That has to do with policies. It's mostly among the Roma people. It's comes from some cultural issues that date way back to some times when they were enslaved by the Romanians. And unfortunately, they did that actually out of survival and to protect their daughters from soldiers. But unfortunately, it has persisted. And a lot of them actually don't know that the history that it actually started with that. But a lot of them are, they're a marginalized community. And so one way you tackle that is you keep the girls in school. So you help them to not drop out of school and get married. You help them get their education and get skills and try to delay that as long as possible so that they can go on. They can become an adult before they get married, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a real problem, but we work also with governments and trying to influence change with policies on a government level and in a regional level in Eastern Europe as well.
So you're over there visiting on a regular basis?
Yes.
So basically, I married Mother Teresa.
Yeah, it sounds like you did.
Well, we were able to actually refurbish Mother Teresa's one of her orphanages, and now it's a women's and children's shelter for women who are fleeing from abusive situations. Instead of having to give up her children to an orphanage, which would be a pretty standard move for a woman in that situation, she can actually go to this former orphanage of Mother Teresa's, which is now a shelter, and she can stay there for up to 2 weeks and get the support she needs to help with being relocated and get the resources that she needs.
And let me just add a little bit about my wife that if you haven't seen the movie Cabrini, which I highly recommend, I think Angel Studios put it out. Did you see Cabrini?
I haven't seen it.
It's phenomenal.
It's so powerful.
So beautiful. Watching that movie and knowing my wife, I married a woman like that.
Oh.
And so...
You were too generous.
No, it's true. I'm honored because you have a heart to serve and love the most vulnerable. And we're commanded to, right? We're commanded to take care of the fatherless and the widows and the most vulnerable among us. So
true religion is that, James 1:27.
Yes, that's right. So
thank you.
Just a little plug for my wife.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you.
And the parable of sheep and the goats. And that's what God really cares about. He says, in as much as you've done it to one of the least of these, you've done it to me. And God actually identifies with the poor and the needy.
Yeah.
As much as anybody.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a connection to God, go find somebody poor and needy and help them.
That is true. It changes you and it keeps you grateful.
Yeah, it does. Great. Thank you for that background.
That's a long background.
So I know the two of you have been married, I don't know, since for 5 years or something like that. I don't know what it's been.
2022?
Yes.
Yeah.
2022.
4 years.
So, and for both of you,
we've been dating.
Yeah, I get that mixed up. We've known each other for
2020.
Almost 6
we
years.
met during COVID.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for both of you, this is not your first marriage. And I'd love to hear your story, how you met, how you fell in love.
Met in a bar.
In a bar. This is great. Keep going.
Yeah, it was very exciting. This is a fun story for us, not the bar, because that's not true.
It didn't happen.
It'd be a good story. Should I just go ahead and
please.
So I had recently ended a relationship with someone and but had continued. I was still out there dating, but I had decided I'm going to take a break from dating. And then I thought, well, I'll get on the dating app like that. That's how we do it now, right? We don't have time to go to a bar. We don't have, we're not like 18 years old or
time
whatever.
or desire.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I got on the app and I thought, well, I'll just check to see, I'm just going to open up and check and see what's going on here one last time. And I opened up the app and there was Jeremy's face. And I thought, oh man. And that smile. And I just, and so I thought, okay, I'm going to swipe on him. And we instantly matched, which meant that he had already swiped on me. And I thought, oh, okay. And he immediately texted me. We got into, I think, a conversation about how you're great at making salads. And it was just this funny conversation. And we just had some really great bantering back and forth, and just some really great texting mojo going on. It was fun. And then he called me. Not that day. This is a little while later. And so this is where it gets good. So I very distinctly remember this conversation where I was. It was a very hot July day. I was irrigating my property. I was walking around outside, and I was walking around the side of my house, and we were talking and getting to know each other. And I thought, I really like this guy. This guy's great. This guy's really cool. Like, this is a stud. You know, like, I was really kind of taken by him. And then he says, he just starts talking about Joseph Smith and how he's not a polygamist. And I thought, okay.
That's a good way to get a girl, by the way.
I just thought, there it is.
Right out the gate.
There's the weird thing, right?
You're waiting for that.
There's the, okay, you know.
Conversation number one.
Yeah. It's like right out the gate. And so it's like, okay, I'm glad I'm informed about this early on. But I entertained it because, you know, I think I can convince people. So it's like, I can help him work through this, you know, like I can get him on the right track.
The wayward.
Right. And so,
son.
you know, that was the beginning of our debates. So we started debating right from the start. And that lasted for a year and a half. We debated.
You debated whether he's a polygamist for a year and a half.
For a year and a half, we debated about this. I was not one of those people who just watches a video and is like, I'm sold. You know, I was like I was not sold on it. And, you know, he would bring up his facts and his things. And I would say, who said that? When did they say that? Did it come directly from them? Was it hearsay? What year was it? Where did you hear that? What is, you know, is this anti-Mormon? Is this, you know, I grilled him. I wasn't just like, oh, okay. You know, with, you know, so-and-so said this. Oh, okay. No, I had to know where he found that. You know, is this a legitimate resource? Right. And even if it was a legitimate resource, I didn't believe him. And like we would argue, and I actually broke up with him a few times over it. We had some heated discussions, and I just thought it was ridiculous.
Did you want Joseph Smith to be a polygamist?
No, I didn't. I just was like, well, he just was.
He just was.
He just was. And this is very strange that you're in denial of this.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you? You're a I can tell he's like this highly intelligent man.
Yeah.
And I thought something is deeply fundamentally wrong with you. Like, you know. And so anyway, and then to top it off, he's like, yeah, and someday I want to do a podcast on this. And I was like, I cannot bring this into my family. I cannot. I've already been through divorce.
Yep.
I am not going to bring in this circus into my family.
He's just another one of those crazies that you've dated before.
Yeah. I'm just like, it's really a shame that he's hot, because like, I'm not going to do this. Right. But then we would get back together, and I just
over this one issue.
What?
Over this one issue.
Yeah, mostly. And we have a few things that we're not completely aligned on religiously.
Okay.
And just because like you're having fun together and you get along really well doesn't mean you're a match to be married necessarily. Right. So, but that podcast thing really concerned me, because I was like, you're gonna destroy the church, and my family's gonna hate you. Like, what? I just can't bring this into the family. So anyway, we had this one conversation where I was sitting. I have this like purple couch in my bedroom, and I was sitting on it one night, and I just was like, why do you believe this? Like, why? This is a year and a half into this. Okay. Yeah. Talking about it again. We're talking we're always talking about this. And I It's like, is there any doubt in your mind? Like, why are you so sure that Joseph Smith wasn't a polygamist? And then he said, because he fought it. I said, what? What? Who said that? Where is that? What talk was that? How do you know that? But, then again, all the questions, right? And I was like, why have you never said that to me before? Wait a minute. He fought it. So it's not just your belief that he didn't practice this because of X, Y, and Z, but you're telling me now that he fought against polygamy, and his brother Hiram too, and Emma. I'm like, okay, now I'm all ears. And so I was like, send me what you have on that. And he sent me legitimate things. And I remember after reading his last conference talk, just 3 months before he was murdered, and Hiram's last conference talk, both of which spoke against polygamy just right before they died, things I'd never read before. These are in the Joseph Smith papers, so they're on the church's website. And just some of his letters to his wife, and there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit. Jeremy can go over that. That's what he does best. But I remember just one night I just felt a sadness for Joseph, because I was reading his public speeches, and I was reading this, and I just thought, oh my gosh, he did fight this. And I'm actually feeling sorry for him. Nobody's believing him. Everyone's saying, well, it's the unauthorized polygamy. You can't, you didn't authorize it yet, or, and so I'm really starting to feel this, just recognize this fight that he had against this. But still, I needed to have a spiritual confirmation, like intellectually, it's not enough for me. I need to have this ratified by the Spirit. And those are personal things, but I will mention that one night while I was cooking, my daughter, who was in seminary at the time, she was reading scriptures out loud for one of her assignments, and she was reading Jacob 2 and 3. And I was making spaghetti, and I was listening to her read it, and all of a sudden, I just felt this thump in my chest, like, wow, Jacob was preaching against polygamy, and there's no loophole there, actually. And it just hit me, not here, but here in my heart. And it took my breath away. Now, that's a personal thing. Sometimes people use their spiritual experiences to try to convince other people. That's just for me. That was my experience. And it took my breath away. And I thought, this is Jacob the prophet talking about the tender hearts of the wives being broken, the daughters' hearts being broken. This is such a powerful speech. And I read it over and over and over again after that night. But I called Jeremy and I said, you're right. You should share what that moment was like for you. I was like, okay, you're right. So
it was a beautiful moment, actually, when you shared that story with me. I haven't talked extensively about the spiritual side of this because I feel like you. I don't feel a desire to try to convince people because of the spiritual thing, the spiritual component of this that's important to me, because that's between them and God. And I made a commitment to my audience, and I repeat it again. I respect everyone's belief. This show respects everyone's belief, whether you have left the church and you're an atheist, whether you're an agnostic, whether you can't stand the church, whether you're RLDS, whether you're a Strangite, hi John Hayek, whether you whether you're in the fundamentalist communities, and especially whether you're part of my tradition, the LDS Church, I respect your beliefs. So I tread lightly on the spiritual grounds, but they're very, very, for those of us who've experienced it, it's very, very real.
Well, and you and I had an agreement that there would be no disparagement of the church on your podcast.
None whatsoever, because I cherish the church. I cherish what it's done for me. I cherish what it does for its members. And I know there's a lot of people watching this who I get emails all the time. What does this mean for this, that, and the other in relation to their faith? Whether they're Latter-day Saint or whether they're part of another tradition, especially fundamentalist Mormons. What does it mean? That is a question that you have to answer with God. I cannot answer that for you. All I can do on this show is, to the best of my ability, and it's what you and I have tried to have as a pact between the two of us, to talk about things as they really are, to actually tell the truth about, to the best of our ability as far as we can understand, what happened.
According to the historical record.
According to what the history says.
Yeah. Not according to opinions.
Not about our opinions.
Some belief, but just the records themselves.
What do the documents say? What do they not say? How do we fairly interpret them? And so in terms of, your discovery of this, it was an amazing thing to watch.
Well, it's
because I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
Had you lost hope, Jeremy?
No.
It's really why he's so good at answering questions now. That the credit goes to me on that.
Okay.
In large part,
really ran him through the ringer. I did. But something we've also talked about is we certainly don't want anyone to lose their faith over this. Oftentimes when people, so I personally have family members, and best friends, and who have left the church because of polygamy, and they're so disgusted with Joseph Smith. They think that, so several family members of mine believe that Joseph was a statutory rapist, a pervert, a liar, a deceiver, and that then means that the Book of Mormon can't possibly be true. And there we go. And then oftentimes they no longer believe in God even. It tumbles down like that for many, many people. That is a natural path, because as members of the church, this is, the church is everything. It's what we eat, we drink, our underwear. It's everything. It's everything. It's how we speak. It's everything. And so if that's gone, if that was false, if our founding prophet was that kind of a man, and if the Book of Mormon isn't true, then nothing's true. Nothing that I believe is true. And so it goes down that way for people. We don't want, in trying to tell the accurate history of Joseph Smith, it doesn't have to be like that. It actually is something that can fortify your testimony. It can, for me, it was a real gift, because I revere our founding prophet, and I revere his wife and the relationship, the marriage they had. They were fiercely devoted to each other and to each other only, and they were fiercely in love. They had a very sweet, special marriage. And
let me pause on that, because again, if you're just coming to this for the first time, maybe this is the first time you're hearing this, or maybe you've come along this ride for a little while and you're hearing my wife say this.
Sorry, I kind of ran with it.
No, that's okay. That's important about the type of marriage that Emma and Joseph had, and you have in your mind. But wait a minute, I've heard that she was basically a raving lunatic, and I've heard that she threw stuff in the fire, and I've heard.
And she's cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
That the whole thing just broke her.
Keep in mind that none of those stories, none of them come at the time. They all come decades later, and they come from people who had what we, in historical terms, we call interested witnesses. They're people who are part of a culture that developed a narrative about Emma. And that narrative comes from a few people in general. We're going to talk more about that in the future. But to be able to have a perspective, when you look at their letters, you look at Lucy Mack, you look at Joseph Smith III, you look at the people that knew them the best, it is incontrovertible that we find a deep and abiding love between them expressed in their own words. And so you can't ignore that. You have to believe what other people said about them, not because of what you can find between them at all. And so that's something that's really important to remember.
And we want to model our marriage after their relationship.
Frankly,
and
yes.
that's a very powerful thing. And
they set an incredible example.
yes. And our founding prophet, he needs to be exceptional. He needs to not be a liar. He needs to not be doing things behind his wife's back for the sake of not hurting her feelings, or these stories we tell ourselves to try to justify what he did, and what he supposedly did.
A man who was not afraid to tell the world that he got a golden Bible.
Right.
A man who was not afraid to tell the world that he stood in the presence, not just of one God, but of two.
And his quote about honesty.
And a man who wrote in his own journal, in his own hands. Thank you, Karen Hyatt, for pointing this out. In his own handwriting, in his own journal, it is the delight of my soul to be honest. That is in his own handwriting, in his own private thoughts. And so we have to ask ourselves, is this the kind of man that would lie to himself? Maybe.
Or would he lie to his wife? It's time for the church to be restored on the earth again. What kind of a man is God going to choose to do that?
Our fundamental concept of what it means for God to talk to people through a servant. What does that mean? Does he call liars? Does he call adulterers? Does he call murderers? Does he call thieves? Does he do that? Does he do that?
Or does he call Captain Moroni's and Alma's and Nephi's or Joseph Smith's?
That's right. We don't necessarily talk about Captain Moroni as a prophet, although the scriptures say if all men were like Captain Moroni, then what? Then the powers of darkness would have no power?
The very gates
shaken?
of hell would be shaken.
That's right. So what type of man and woman, because Emma and Joseph were united, what type of people does God utilize as his servants? That's the heart of this question. And that's the heart of why I have my dear wife here, because marriage and what Joseph taught about marriage and what we know he taught as early as 1835, what we know he taught about it, is something that the world may aspire to, but I'm not aware of any other formal religious doctrine as elevated and noble as what Joseph Smith taught, and what he gave us in terms of a perspective, a goal to attain to. And so, would God put words in that man's mouth to inspire us to have that kind of marriage when he said, by the way, Joseph Smith said, if you haven't watched it, go back to it's the Fanny Alger episode. Go back and listen to the words of William Phelps to his wife when he wrote to her, I've just heard some of the grandest sermons ever preached by anyone on earth, what Joseph has taught us. And he said, I have a right to only you, Sally, William is saying to his wife, I have a right to only you and only one wife. And that is according to the law of the celestial kingdom in eternity, is what William Phelps said. This was in 1835, the very time that we are told that Joseph is either dreaming about, believing in, or pursuing Fanny Alger as a wife.
A young teenage girl.
Well, at that time, she would have been a teenager. But 1836, she would have been 18. So, but having a tryst in the barn and all of those things. So what Joseph taught us is unique and profound. And it's why that we're here together today, because we want to start having these conversations with couples. I believe that this subject, that having a new understanding of this subject, I was going to say correct. I believe it's correct, but I want to leave it up to you to determine whether you believe it's correct. But having a new understanding of this subject, what it can do for a marriage. Because I believe, like what you said, the image of God is male and female united together. That's the image of God. And the biggest thing standing in the way for Latter-day Saints is the notion of having plural wives.
Well, and we also we make sure to tell everybody, we don't believe in polygamy, but we do. We believe
Absolutely
in polygamy
we
in the
do.
next life.
Yes.
So if we get to the celestial kingdom, which we believe is the highest degree in heaven, the highest degree of glory, if you make it there and you're a woman, as Michelle Stone said, you get to be a part of a harem. So you get to, if your husband is very, very righteous, so righteous that he will be called by God, he'll be asked by God and to sacrifice, to make sure to, to marry other women because they need the priesthood, they need they need him because he's such a good man. Well,
and there's naturally going to be 100 times more women than men.
That's what we're told. And so that's what we get for our heaven, for our celestial kingdom. We get that. We get to share our husband with multiple other women and imagine what kind of things he might be doing with those other women. And how is this the celestial kingdom for me? Okay, this is a real problem. So now I think I don't know how long ago it was, maybe 8 years ago, the church started saying, well, you don't have to, women, you don't have to agree to that. You don't have to practice that, right? It's like, well, wait a minute. I never heard that before. Like on my mission, no one ever told me I didn't have to practice that someday. It was just what I got to do, It's just what, especially if you're a magnanimous and phenomenal man, priesthood holding man, you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to sacrifice that. And your wife is going to have to, sacrifice that as well. And so I don't know. It seems to shift and change. Like, what do we have to do?
The reason we have that notion is because it was taught early on. It was, despite what some may say, despite what Brian Hales or others may say, it was absolutely taught as a requirement for the celestial kingdom.
For your salvation.
Mm-hmm.
That you had to.
You had to enter that order. And
now they're saying, no, you don't have to. And so, what is it? Are some people, the people who are born during the Brigham Young era, they all have to, all those women have to, and the rest of us, we don't have to, what is it? But in any case, it creates a lot of anxiety in women, because if you are truly in love with your husband, and if you are intimate with your husband, which we hope you all are, you don't want to imagine him doing those things with another woman. And a woman's going to she's going to hold back a part of herself because she can't completely give herself over to her husband, her body, her mind, her heart, and her soul, knowing that someday her heart's going to be shattered and broken, knowing that he will do these very same things with another woman or 1,000. Okay. So I don't know if you want to go into.
Absolutely. In fact, that's one of the things we'll talk about delicately. This whole subject has to do with sex and intimacy. The whole subject, it's the big, gigantic, smelly elephant in the room. The specter of that being fractured within a marriage. And that's always the issue and always the problem. And in fact, so my wife, one of the other reasons that she's here is because you want to tell about your recent venture?
So I have become certified as a premarital and marriage sexuality coach for Christians. And it's a little bit comical sounding because I'm this humanitarian lady who is now going to help people with sexual intimacy. But there's, it's a whole nother mission. It's a whole nother mission.
Mother Teresa and Dr. Ruth, all roll in one.
Teresa and Dr. Ruth. Ta-da! But this is, you would just want me to share why I'm going into this?
Please tell us why this is one of the most important things that people within faith-based communities I think, can reconcile within themselves. Because intimacy within a marriage is supposed to be glorious. It's supposed to be a refuge. It's supposed to be something that can help. One of the most important things that can help make you one. And so my wife has a perspective that I know has already helped a lot of people, but will help a tremendous amount of people to heal marriages.
I just, so I have my degrees in human development, and I've also done wellness counseling, alternative health, wellness counseling for 14 years, and helping women with their hormones and a variety of things. And so I was already helping people with this. And so I just decided to officially get certified and officially go this direction. So we Christians, LDS, we have the same divorce rate as non-religious people, and that's 50%. But we have some unique challenges. So the challenges among married couples with around sexual intimacy are all very similar across the world. It doesn't matter your religion, your race, where you live, your age, whether you're married or unmarried, whether you're just with a girlfriend or boyfriend, or whether you've been married for a long time, or whether you're newlyweds. The top three issues are the same everywhere. But we LDS have additional issues. We have quite a few. We have some interesting instruction that sometimes parents give us before marriage. We have some myths that are not founded in scriptures. We have some challenges about, that some beliefs about how our passions need to be bridled even within marriage. We have garments. We have we have some who deal with shame and issues from purity culture, quote unquote. I believe in being pure, by the way, but purity culture is about something else. It has to do with scrupulosity and extremes. And so we have, the result of that is oftentimes couples who are at odds with each other. Not only are they struggling, not only do they not have the same level of desire and libidos and have that kind of clash in the bedroom, but they have differences religiously. They have differences in what they believe they can and cannot do in the bedroom.
Even in the same religion.
Even in the same religion, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we have some additional challenges, and I want to help people work through those things, and so that they can create a stronger bond with each other, emotionally and physically. And this is, as Jeremy said, it's meant to be something powerful and meaningful. Deeply, deeply meaningful. It's meant to be something that unites you. And it's not meant to be this battle in the bedroom. Too often it is. And it's actually very normal. It's very normal to have this battle in the bedroom.
And by the way, if anyone watching, if you want to talk to someone or take courses or participate in things that can help your marriage, I would highly recommend visiting deepmarriage.com.
.me.
Yeah. Deepmarriage.me, deepmarriage.me, and check it out, because she can absolutely help you. Now, added to that whole list, the complicating factor for Latter-day Saints is this nonsense about polygamy. So everybody everywhere has the same problems, no matter where you come from. But then you throw this in the mix.
Yeah, now we've got things going on in here that are inhibiting your wife's desire. It's getting in the way of her fully being able to surrender herself and her body to her husband.
That's a very, very big deal. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about this over time. We hope to have some intimate conversations, some important conversations.
Not like graphic or anything.
No, not graphic. For those of you who have children in the room, we'll give you a warning when we talk about it, so you can send your kids elsewhere. But but it's very, very important because God designed us to be one flesh. And so how can we do that when we've got the specter of other
When we've
things
got
interfering?
Ashley maybe in the back of our head for the next life, or just, I hate to put it that way, but it kind of comes down to that sometimes, right? Like maybe, Sister Smith we might do really well in the next life together if things don't work out with her husband, things don't work out with my wife or whatever. Like this is an eternal principle after all. Like I'm just trying to, plan ahead. I don't know. But something we want to do with I'm not trying to be crass. I'm trying to be funny.
Well, these are the real things that go through people's minds.
They do entertain these thoughts, and then there's others who have lost maybe a man has lost his wife that he was sealed to and deeply loves her and has then remarried someone else and gotten sealed to her and loves her too and loves them both. And then there's that conundrum.
And what if she was what if she's a widow as well and she loved her first husband?
Right. And so
she wasn't sealed to him and yet she really loves him.
And so there's complex things there and that dynamic needs to be respected. And so we're not making light of that. We're just talking about, just me and you, if you believed this and what a hard time I would have, thinking you were, going to get with Ashley in the next life. But one thing we want to do is there's
no Ashley.
I don't know.
Just so you know,
it's just a very popular name. So, anyway, if there is an Ashley and she needs to step forward. Anyway, so we've talked about how we do want to have couples come on where they are at odds with this, maybe whether the wife or believes that no longer believes in this doctrine of polygamy, no longer believes that Joseph was a polygamist, or whether it's a husband who believes that and then the other doesn't believe that and they both think each other are crazy because we went through this, we understand this. We're not here to talk somebody into believing what we believe. That's not the point. We want to help you feel actually understood and navigate that very tricky dynamic so it doesn't destroy your marriage, so it doesn't destroy your intimacy. And so
because part of the story between us is we learned to have a good, despite the characterization that we argued quite a bit, we did, but we also learned within that year and a half to respect each other.
Yes, absolutely.
And to give each other space and support each other. And she became very supportive of my belief system before adopting it. And it wasn't me that convinced her. It was her own homework and her own experiences. But I think it's important that if you are at odds on an issue as profound as this, that you have some resources and tools to navigate it, because it doesn't have to separate you. It doesn't have to.
And we really don't want that. It's
absolutely.
I mean, when one, and we don't want it to destroy faith. We don't want it to destroy your bond. We don't want it to destroy faith. And so we think it would be wonderful to, on the show, have some couples who are, if they're willing to come on in real time.
And have a conversation.
Just have a conversation. Yeah. Jeremy can do the historical stuff. If the non-believing spouse, meaning non-believing
in this principle, in the idea, right?
If they want to pick Jeremy's brain on documents, on why he thinks this and believes this,
and not to convince you, but just to have a perspective on why we believe this.
Yeah, you can pick his brain and ask questions, and then on my end, I'm here to support the bond, the relationship, and help them understand each other, what they're going through, because it can feel very scary. I've been there with my first marriage. My first husband believed Joseph was a polygamist, and it was very shattering. It was very upsetting. The different things he believed, about Fanny Alger, all these ugly things that we actually all that the church believes too. And on my end, I was terrified that this was going to ruin our marriage, and that he was going to leave the church, and then, not pay tithing, and then, take garments off, and then none of the kids are going to go to church, and just on and on and on. And you're going to break our covenant. We covenanted with each other. So I understand the fear and how scary it feels. And you just feel like everything's going to fall apart. And like, but we promised each other over the altar, you know, that we have this covenant and like, what's going to happen now? It's like, can feel very terrifying for the spouse who holds the traditional beliefs to go through that. I understand that. And I also understand what it's like to transition over to believing that our prophet didn't do those things and wasn't that kind of a person.
And one of the reasons why people believe that they have such fears about their marriage is because it's the plural marriage doctrine is tied to Section 132, and there's a belief by some that the only place we find the idea of eternal sealed marriages is in Section 132, and that's not true. Let me repeat, that is not true. That was being taught by Joseph Smith 8 years prior to that. 8 full years prior to that, he was teaching about eternal marriages. And in Nauvoo on July 16th, 1843, he reintroduced the idea, or taught it publicly, perhaps for the first time, the idea of being sealed for eternity, having an eternal marriage, that to be married eternally, you had to be sealed first on earth. So the idea is not dependent on the plural marriage revelation. You and I do not believe in plural marriage, but we absolutely believe in eternal marriage.
And sealing.
And in being sealed together.
Yes.
And so if that's an issue for a couple, it is not necessary to couple them together so that if you throw out the one, you also throw out the other.
Right.
So if you are a mixed belief couple, please email at askme@stillmormon.com. And we want to talk to you. We want to have a real conversation that we believe could be extremely helpful to people in this audience. So I would like to hear you've had experiences in the real world, in today's world, of at least one time where somebody believed in this and it transitioned into an experience that was really quite, traumatic. I would like to hear you tell that story for the audience so they can understand that within the Latter-day Saint community, there are what I term false spirits abroad who convince people that this idea of plural marriage, that within Orthodox Latter-day Saint tradition today, it's not supposed to play out in the real world. However, that spirit, because it's part of the theology, because it's part of our culture, I think some people are vulnerable to allowing that spirit to tell them certain things in the here and now that then are applicable to them. Would you share that story for us?
Okay, we'll go here. I wasn't sure if we were going to do this or not.
I really think it's important.
So several years ago, in I think it was 2019, I had a bad experience where it's actually the husband of one of my mission companions, who I was very close to the both of them. They're no longer married, and I was spending the night at their house one night, and the husband, we were talking, and he proceeded to tell me when his wife wasn't in the room that he had received revelation that I was to be his dyadic companion in the next life. And I thought, oh, so does your wife know about this? I don't want to say her name. Does she know about this? No, she doesn't need to know about this. You know, she and I are still going to be together in the next life, but you are going to be my dyadic companion, which is like the epitome of all, like the wife of all wives, the special one, the chosen one. And I thought, what are you, like, this is cuckoo. This is someone I'm friends with for 25 years. very closer to than my own brothers at the time.
Very spiritual guy, right?
Very, very deeply spiritual. He'd given me quite a few priesthood blessings, very powerful blessings. And I believe for years and years was quite a tremendous man. Unfortunately, this idea took root in his mind, and he was on the lookout for who those wives might be in the next life. And I guess I was the privileged chosen one. And that night he came into my bedroom in their home. And anyway, it was not a good thing that it was an assault. And it was because God had told him that I was chosen for this. And while this is happening, he's giving me a priesthood blessing. It was like this horrifying experience that it was an assault on my spirit, most of all. Like I was not raped. I was assaulted, not raped. I want to be clear about that out of respect for those who have actually gone through that. But he was like prophesying that this was meant to be. And this is, I completely froze. I didn't know what was happening. I was very scared. I was like my friend. I'm not understanding what's going on here. And he's praying and blessing me. And it was, calling upon his priesthood power. And it messed me up. It really messed me up. And for a time, and it ended their marriage ultimately. And he'd been doing this with other women as well. And getting much further with them than he got with me. And anyway, it started to really damage my testimony of Joseph Smith. This idea of polygamy and polygamy in the next life. And the way he spoke sounds very much like the voice of saints, actually. The book Saints, just the tone is, his was an audible voice, obviously, but like just his style of speaking was very much like the way Saints is written. And I didn't realize that until I went home and I started looking up things about Joseph Smith and I started reading some things in Saints and it just started like making me feel sick because I thought they sound alike. This Joseph Smith in Saints sounds just like this friend of mine who did this to me. They sound the same. What they're saying sounds similar. Not specifically the dyadic companion. Joseph never talked about that. But it really shook me up. So I've had to rebuild my testimony in Joseph Smith, and much of that is thanks to you. This man loves Joseph Smith. He loves the Book of Mormon. And anyway, there is a pernicious spirit about it. There is something that feels very wrong about it. And it's not because I've been traumatized by this. It's, by the time I met Jeremy, I was back on board believing that this is just the way it is, right? So anyway,
I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's really, really important. I wanted the audience to hear that because she's not alone. In this experience, there were 18 women. Okay. These were spiritual wives, folks. He called her the dyadic companion because she was the queen wife, but this was the spiritual wife doctrine playing out in real time today. And I can tell you, in my experience, I have met many, many, many people over the years who've come to me and told me the same kind of nonsense from different angles. I've heard the term bonded wifery. A lot of it has to do with people who believe in multiple lives, and all of a sudden they had a past life experience, and Sister, Barnes Farnsworth down the road,
We have a connection.
because they had been married 4 lifetimes ago, and so that gives them license.
Or they're going to be married in the next life,
That's
and they've
right.
just been told, they've just have a confirmation that in the next life they're going to be married.
This spirit's been around a very long time. And if you remember the presentation I gave on the companion revelation, the one about what was happening in England, where the women were taught, according to this formal revelation, these were Latter-day Saints in England in 1840, unconnected to Joseph Smith. If you haven't seen that episode, go back and watch it. Unconnected to Joseph Smith, Latter-day Saint women in England, in a branch in Manchester, the women got the revelation about who their companions would be, that they would not be married as they are now, but that they would have another companion in the eternal world. And that led to women being dissatisfied with their husbands and wanting new husbands. And it led to all kinds of mischief and all kinds of trouble for about 8 years. We have documentation of that. So that was started then. It had been going on in other sects and sects and denominations. It's as old as Cain and his great-grandson Lamech, or great-great-grandson Lamech. That's the first polygamist that we know of. So it's been around a very, very long time, but this spirit is nothing new.
And there's always a feeling of chosenness. Like I was chosen, right? I'm so special that I can be part of a harem.
Right. And so we've watched, if you haven't seen the series Keep Sweet, or the new series Trust Me, is that the one that we watched?
False prophet.
Trust Me? Yeah, Trust Me.
Okay.
The spirit that's, in my opinion, the spirit that's exhibited in those shows is a similar spirit to what you've described to me that you experienced up close.
Yeah. It's kind of terrifying.
And we'll be talking from time to time more about this, because I think it's very important that this spirit be recognized and be detected, because it's a very seductive and very deceptive spirit coming cloaked in white robes and claiming to be of God. And as Joseph Smith said, the greatest trick of the devil is to believe that you're under the influence of a true spirit, when in reality, you're under the influence of a false one. And I believe that this spirit is a false spirit, and it's alive and well today. So today we decided to take a little jaunt down the spiritual side because of what it does to marriages. So again, if you're interested in talking to us, go to askme@stillmormon.com. If you'd like to learn more about how you might have some help for your marriage, go to deepmarriage.me, and we can help you out. I think we're going to wrap it up here for now. I don't even know how to wrap this conversation, because it's going on.
We kind of
very,
just
very
stole
long.
the show. You're going to be interviewing us, and we just blah, blah, blah. This is what we do. We talk and talk and talk.
Well, what if the whole point is for you to each give each other heart and soul to the other person? What if that's the whole point of marriage? What if being able to do that is the same thing as God saying, don't put any other gods before me? It's all about oneness. It's all about surrender. It's all about actually loving one person more than anybody else in the world.
And being your husband, for a woman, being your husband's one and only.
Right.
Like we want that. We want to be your one and only, right? We don't want to be one of 50. We want to be your one and only. You're our one and only. We get one.
Yeah.
You're my one and only.
Yeah. And what if loving God, truly loving God, means only loving one woman?
Yeah.
What if that's really part of the deal? That you can't give God your full heart unless you can give your wife your full heart.
Yeah.
You know?
Sometimes it's easy with our kids, because we're like, well, these are my kids, and I'm going to put everything into my kids, my whole heart and soul. They're all I've got. But do we do that same thing with our spouse?
Oh, and we must. We must.
Have to.
Yeah.
We have to do that same thing with our spouse. And polygamy, the idea of it, the idea of an easy out can be destructive. Just the idea of it.
You just well, if it doesn't work out for us.
Yeah.
And there's Ashley.
Yeah, I haven't told this on the show. So I think I told it on Michelle's show, Michelle Stone's show. Hi, Michelle, if you're watching, we miss you. And we hope you're going to be back out talking publicly very soon. This whole community that believes in these things, we adore you, and we are so grateful for the work that you do. And by the way, you'd mentioned Whitney Horning's book. If you don't know Whitney Horning's book, Joseph Smith Revealed, please go check that out and read that book. It's a wonderful summation. It's a wonderful exposition on how Joseph Smith fought this, the spiritual wife doctrine, the polygamy issue, plural marriage, plural wives, multiplicity of wives. He fought every form. There was no, as Deb said, there was no unauthorized versus authorized polygamy in the historical record during Joseph Smith's day. That's a later story that's told about that time.
They never use those terms.
Never.
They never said authorized, unauthorized.
The popular term at the time that Mormons themselves used, including Heber Kimball, Brigham Young, Helen Kimball, Emily Partridge, etc., Augusta Cobb, used the spiritual wife doctrine. They called themselves spiritual wives. They or spirituals was a nickname that they used for each other. And so it's very important that we understand that he fought it. And Whitney's book is a great resource. And Michelle, I told this story on Michelle's show, so maybe we'll end here. One of the reasons that I'm doing this is because I've mentioned this briefly before. I have 8 great-great-great-grandfathers who would have been your great-great-great-grandfather's friends, who all had plural wives. Erastus Snow was one of the apostles after the Trek West. Thomas Grover was one of the men in the High Council meeting, supposedly on August 12th, 1843, who would later swear an affidavit that he heard Hiram Smith read the celestial plural marriage revelation to the High Council. That's my great-great-great-grandfather, which, by the way, he lied in one of his affidavits, and I'll talk about that later. Which is an interesting story and a kind of a miracle in of itself, how I discovered that. Edwin D. Woolley, who had a store in Nauvoo, and there's a fantastic story that our family has that Joseph tested him and said, Edwin, take all your goods and put them out on the sidewalk because the Lord needs your goods, needs all the goods of your store. I don't think Joseph talked like that, but he put all his stuff out on the store, on the sidewalk or the boardwalk, whatever we would call it at that time. I don't know if they had a sidewalk. But he put all his stuff out according to the story, outside the store. And then Joseph said, Edwin, you passed the test. You did great. Put it all back. Apparently, either Joseph was going around giving these tests or something people like to remember. I don't know, because that's a later story. However, that's my great-great-great-grandfather's story, Edwin D. Woolley. One of my great-great-great-grandfathers is Richard Ballantyne, who was the founder of the primary. And so I have I am the product of polygamy, and it's deeply in my heritage. I grew up hearing stories of my relatives from my grandma Vivian Woolley. I'm part of the Woolley clan. I'm related to John W. Woolley and Lawrence C. Woolley, who were the fulcrum point, the breakoff point between the Latter-day Saints, between Brigham Young's church and what became the branches of fundamentalism after the supposed 1886 revelation to John Taylor. They're my great and great uncles. So it's really deeply rooted in me. And so I remember being on my mission, and I was giving a discussion, a charla, as we would say in Uruguay, a little chat. And I'm talking to this woman. She must have been she seemed to me, as I remember, and I vaguely remember only kind of her hairstyle. I don't remember anything else, just kind of short and poofy.
Was her name Ashley?
Yeah. No. I only met her once. We had one single discussion. And I think she was in her 40s. Here I am, this 20-year-old, and teaching her the gospel. And I remember distinctly feeling this profound connection. Now, I'm not married. I'm just of course, I'm a young missionary. This profound connection to this woman that I would never see again. I didn't know that at the time. I thought we might have another discussion, but I didn't know I'd never see her again. And I had this impression, this strong impression, that she might be my wife someday. And I distinctly and clearly remember the prayer that I offered, which was, Father, if this woman is unmarried, in the next life, I would be honored to receive her. So I'm thinking this on my mission in the middle of a discussion.
So wait a minute. What would someone who heard, what would they naturally think was happening here? That you were feeling the Spirit in this discussion?
I thought certainly
confirming to you that one day you're going to be married to her.
100%. And that's exactly what I felt that it was. I also remember thinking about my very first girlfriend, the first girl I ever fell in love with when I was 17, 18. Same thing. Lord, if she's not with anyone in the next life, I would be honored to receive her. And the same thing with one of my dearest friends growing up, who nothing ever romantic, but she was a dear friend and like a sister to me. And I had the same prayer for her. And so this was a notion that I had occasionally in my head because I had read Section 132 and took it seriously.
What did that mean for you? That you could be, when you said, I'd be happy to, did you feel like you were doing a service to her?
No.
Or that you were saving her? Or as her priesthood holder?
So I did not understand the doctrine of being a savior. That was never, I didn't get that because that's not taught to us. You have to look at William Clayton and you have to look at how the men would approach women.
And Brigham Young's journals.
Teaching, well, not his journals, but his teachings about what this meant and how it saved women.
How the men turn into the women's saviors.
That's correct. And in William Clayton's journal, he talks about how women were ready to unite to him as their savior. And so they would teach this to the women as though this was I get to be your personal savior. Which
so
is
how
a
were you
stunning doctrine. So that was not part of my experience, that right? For me, I think the confusing thing, and one of the reasons why I appreciate other people's perspectives, is because I had that perspective. And I understand, and I...
Was it the Spirit that...
Looking back...
What was going on?
Looking back, I don't believe so at all. In fact, I know so now, because I know so for myself. That was not what I have come to know as the Spirit of God. I've had enough experience with my own thoughts and enough experience talking to others and experiencing or hearing their stories and seeing things play out in the real world and hearing your story. And it is a very, very subtle and can feel very comforting, a very comforting spirit, it feels ennobling. It feels as though you are either offering a sacrifice or doing something incredibly noble or feeling something incredibly noble, incredibly worthy. It is so, when you're in that mindset, it's so difficult to recognize that that's not of God. Especially as a single young man.
Just an emotional experience, like with your sympathy.
It was not emotional. It wasn't something that I felt. Well, I guess emotional. I guess there was an emotion to it, but it wasn't an overwhelming.
Sounds like you were like I'll take care of her. I'll take care of this.
I think a sense of compassion and care a nurturing feeling within myself that I could be a righteous husband for her and for her and for her and for her, I guess, at various times. But it wasn't,
And for her.
and I can tell you 100% it was not sexual. There was not, and if you don't believe me, you can just not believe me, but it was not sexual. She was older than I was, and I don't think I felt an attraction. I just felt a connection, a spiritual connection. And that can be extraordinarily both powerful and confusing.
Sure.
Later on when you wake up to it. And so these notions I know can affect marriage. I know that they can make a man not sensitive to how difficult these things can be within a marriage, because I have been that way. I've just been insensitive to it. I haven't known how to answer questions and how to understand how profoundly upsetting this can be within a marriage. Because in my first marriage, that's the way it was. And we didn't talk about it very often, but on the occasions that we did, I was not good about it. I was more of we just need to have faith. I don't believe in a God who would.
God will figure it out. And he loves us. And so he'll just figure it out.
And that wasn't good enough. That wasn't helpful. And I was not helpful. And I should have been. I should have been more compassionate, more understanding. And I regret that deeply. And one of the great experiences of my life is being free of this so that I can have the possibility of giving my whole heart and soul to someone. And it's, I know that it's something that God wants for all of us. And so I tell you those things as a way of being vulnerable to my audience and letting you know that I come from a place of firmly believing this stuff, teaching it to people, in a way advocating it within my own marriage for a time. And so I know what this does within myself and what it does within a marriage and what it can do for other people. And my wife also has experienced kind of the darker side of this and how it plays out. We've both of us have experienced the loss of loved ones, and not in terms of losing their faith in God or in the Book of Mormon or in Jesus Christ and what he did through Joseph Smith. And we believe it's just so unnecessary. And so that's why I wanted to have you on today. Adam, thank you so much for helping facilitate this conversation. We'll be hearing probably more from Adam in the future. He's going to probably help me co-host some shows here and there. You're going to hear more from my dear wife, Deborah. If you want to be on the show, please again, reach out at askme@stillmormon.com. If you want to learn more about Deborah, go to deepmarriage.com. Go to Adam Boyle's podcast.
Not me.
Not me.
Sorry, deepmarriage.me.
Not me.
Adam Boyle's podcast. And if you'd like to support us here, check the links below. Anyway, thank you. Hopefully this was a helpful conversation. Thank you, sweetie. I love you.
Pleasure.
I'm grateful to have you on. And Adam, thank you so much for being here.
I'm just so thrilled that I got to share that with you. I love my wife. I am so grateful for her. And as you can see, she is truly not my better half. She's my better 3/4 or something along those lines. And so I'm just thrilled that God has blessed me with a wife like Deborah. And now you got to know her a little bit. And she's going to join me on a ride of interviewing couples. And so you're going to want to come back. If you just want to see her, you want to come back from time to time, because she's going to join me in talking and having couples conversations about this subject of polygamy and what it's done in marriages and what it does when you give it up. And I will tell you, it's quite miraculous to hear people's stories. And so I can't wait to share those with you and to go on that ride with my dear wife, Deborah. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the channel. By the way, those of you who are supporting the channel, I'm so grateful for you. And by the way, if you want to support us, check the links below, the Patreon and the Venmo links. You can become a monthly subscriber. And by the way, we're going to, in short order, we will have inside content insider content for those people. We haven't come up with a clever name yet about what the insiders are. I don't know, the Still Mormoners or the Still Mormonites. I have no idea what the name will be. We'll have some kind of fun little name about it. The inside club of people who give support and some exclusive things that we will offer to you in the future. But thank you for those of you who have supported. And if you want to help, we need your help. We frankly must have your help because we can't do this without you. And don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? So hit the subscribe button. We've got a lot more coming. I can't wait to share with you the other interviews that we've done, as well as more information about Clayton and the Joseph Smith timeline. But for now, that's all for this episode. Thanks for stopping by.
See